the other mayors. So I don't know how up to date everybody else is on SDS. Jennifer, I kind of kept them somewhat early.
They know everything that we know except yesterday.
So the county is not going to budge at all on SDS. So as of right now, all the mayors are leaning towards not going to court, because our next option would be to have our city attorneys all band together and take them to court. I don't think we're gonna go anywhere with that. I don't see that happening. So I think that we are going to, of course, everybody's gotta talk to their councils. This is just what was discussed yesterday. Kind of let them have what they want on that. But we're gonna separate out SPOS, right? Because they were wanting to bundle it and loss. So they were wanting to do SDS, SPOS, and loss all together. But since we don't want to concede too much, we're going to do the SDS and let them have that, but then fight them on lost and SPOS. Because they're also, I don't have the exact numbers, do you? They're trying to really, really mess us up and take a lot from us on SPOS and lost. So I don't know if you guys have thoughts on that, so that we can take it back, or?
Let me just kind of fill y'all in what I can remember of this, because Gary and I fooled with this, almost every month last year. So at first it was, everybody was waiting on the new census numbers to come out, and we didn't get those, I think, till like maybe September. It was pretty late in the year. And it clearly shows how the county is losing population versus the city's gaining. But yet, the money comes from the cities. But as we all know, we pay county taxes. Well, the county, I mean, almost every year, as long as I've lived here, but it's accelerating. Seems like we pay more, but they're taking services away from us. And one of the biggest services was the road maintenance, whether it be paving or even just cutting the grass on the right-of-ways, where they always would, at least on the roads, I can remember, I think even on the city streets, years ago, now I'm talking about 30 years ago, where the city street needed to be repaved, the county crews came out and did it. It was the inmates and county equipment, but that's how our roads got paved. Well, roads that are not state highways, and I'm thinking like what are coming into the city, Peachtree Road, Jackson Trail Road, Maddox Road, maybe even like Josh Purple Road. So those roads, as they come into the city limits now, Jackson County has said, no more, we're not touching them. We're not gonna spend any money on them. And not only are they not going to spend any money on them that we pay, they're not reducing or kicking us back any money to start maintaining those roads and those services. And if y'all don't know too, when we pay, all cities pay, and I may have the number wrong, but I think it's 1.5 mils extra for being a city resident versus the county. So if any of us moved over there on Jackson Trail Road just outside the city limits, in the same size and the same value house, you'd pay 1.5 mils less in taxes. So we're getting penalized for being a city resident on the millage rate, and now they've taken even more away from us. And we're going to get into a minute about election costs. This was just something that popped up this week, where, when I was a kid, the city we handled our own elections. Well, it was pretty easy to do when you had 100 people in town, and 50 of them voted. It didn't take long. Well, it's a little different now. We've been paying $1 a piece on elections, and this week now it's $2.50 a piece. So it wasn't like it went up 10%. I mean, it more than doubled in cost. And that's another thing with the county. It's like anything you want from Jackson County, there is a fee for their service. So we not only pay our property taxes to them, but if you go to the planning and development over there, you need a letter to confirm a zoning, it's $25. You know, if you go to the waste station and wanna drop off a dishwasher that's junk, probably costs $10, maybe $15. You know,
And they're not doing elections in SDS, correct?
no, that's separate.
Right.
That is
So, and they also are wanting each city to do their own IGA for elections, as opposed to, which, I don't know if we told you that or not yet, but each city is gonna do the IGA. We're not doing it as a whole anymore.
Because,
They're trying to put too much into one bucket, so now they're trying to separate it out to like loss, IGA, SDS. So each city, and particularly right now, since Jefferson and Braselton aren't gonna have to deal with elections, whereas us and Maysville are,
yeah,
they don't wanna get caught up in it. They want us to go work against the county. So each city's gonna do their own IGA.
yeah. They went from $1 a voter to $2.50 a voter, so I mean, a 250% increase.
Right.
It's pretty rough, but if you start doing the multiplication, it's
It's
not a
still cheap.
huge amount of money,
It's
and
still
I
cheap.
mean, we just don't have the staff to do our own, I mean, they really kind of have us over a barrel in that regard. I mean, you'd like to see a little more.
And they know that.
Good, I mean, I don't wanna call it good faith, bad faith, because I mean, they have costs, and elections haven't gotten more complicated. They've changed the laws recently, but that's even more reason that it would be just really too difficult for a city our size or Maysville, you know, to run it on their own. I mean, it might be a different calculation for Jefferson or Commerce or something like that.
Well, and we kind of finishing up the meetings, but, you know, we're losing Ralph Richardson as our representative, and we'll get Steve Widgery or Chad Bingham. Plus Marty Clark is coming on to cover, it won't be our city limits, but it'll be our kind of adjacent. But those guys have to vote on all this. And I said, and I truly believe, I mean, we're gonna have to have a concentrated effort to get citizens of the city to start really talking to these county commissioners, because we vote for them, and they need to start representing us. I mean, the money needs to be allocated population-wise. Who's got X number of people,
The most growth.
and you
Well,
need
they
to
don't
get,
factor in the most growth.
Mm-mm.
They factor in what you have right now.
well,
Based on a 2000 census?
and this goes, back to
2020.
SPOS and LOST. An SDS was, unless everybody agrees to revisit it and redo the rates, what rate gets set for Hoschton now is a 10-year rate. Well, if we didn't grow another person,
It'd
be
fine.
great. Matter of fact, any town that's losing people is actually making money on the deal. But we're getting kind of hoodooed the most on it. And that's not to say that we can't go back to them and says, hey, we've doubled in population in the next 5 years. We want a little more money. But you gotta get them to agree to get it to you.
Which we've had no success with.
Ralph, I probably could go talk to him again. I mean, we talked about this early last year. And Ab, you might could fill in some of the blanks on this too, because they kept talking about, well, you make it up on these insurance rollbacks. And they tried to explain it to me, and I grasped it to some extent, but it's a convoluted process. But at the end of the day, we're paying more and getting less services out of it.
Does John still represent Commerce or
He
Jefferson?
does, Commerce.
Commerce. The Commerce, finance guy, what's his name, Jim?
James.
James.
The
Yeah,
finance guy or the manager? James Washer?
I think he's the finance guy, Washer.
James.
No,
He used to be the
That's the
Jackson
city
County
manager.
finance guy.
Okay.
And he's the Commerce city manager now.
He's to me the guy that if you want insight on all the numbers, how they work out, he was taking the lead when we did our mediation.
Yeah, he's probably still the smartest guy in the room on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he used to fool with it in Jackson County, so he knows how the numbers work,
Yeah.
and that's why he says we're really getting,
I mean,
Screwed over.
if like, you know, a small group, y'all want to have more insight into it, he'd be the guy to talk to. I'll also say, you know, that SDS ultimately could end up in litigation, but I mean, it's expensive, and like, well, like, when we went through SDS negotiations in, Hall County, I represent the city of Gainesville. We hired the Smith Welch firm that is an expert in SDS litigation, just to be ready to help the cities if we needed to go to the mats with the county. Well, we were able to work it out. And like, we allocated lawyer fees, every city paid their own city attorney, but then like the Smith Welch, we allocated by population. So like, if you're, like in Hall County, like if you're Lula, you're paying nothing hardly, because I mean, your population is not much compared to Flowery Branch, Oakwood.
you know, how much
Gainesville.
risk.
Yeah, but, and so that's why in these SDS negotiations, I mean, it's important, obviously, to the city of Houston, it's very important, but you kind of have to get the bigger cities to be willing to go to the mats more, because they have more at risk because of their population, especially when you compare the population counts from the 2020 census. And so, and I mean, that's kind of the approach that was taken in the mediation, is Commerce. That guy was really kind of leading the way, along with John Stale, because, you know, they're looking at their population and how much they have at stake. So I will say that this stonewalling tactic by the county is a very common tactic to take, because you just want to see, you know, how far you can push folks.
Well, the Commerce mayor was, obviously they're getting affected by it a lot. That area up there that's in the city limits of Commerce, those industrial parks, Ridgeway, Church Road, the Steve Reynolds Boulevard, all of that. He says, you know, he says, I can spend our entire budget on just maintaining those roads. And he's like, you know, the county's getting all the tax money out of this. Yeah. But James made this comment, and I've heard them make this comment more than once. He said that cities have done this, the statement was like 4 times, where they've gone to court, and the cities had never won.
Well, the problem is you fight battles on so many different turfs that, I mean, it's just an expensive,
And it's long,
drawn-out
long,
thing.
yeah.
A couple, like, years.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Yeah.
we'd be halfway through the next,
Like Gwinnett
Yeah,
County got in
sure.
court over it, but I mean, you start thinking about the populations over there,
yeah.
you know.
Much different.
I really think, Shannon, what you suggested about talking to the elected officials and just trying to find some common ground is really the best approach.
And we do have a meeting next week with them, with all of the mayors and Kevin Ho.
Yeah.
Kevin Ho. So we'll see how that goes.
We also have to look at, small cities have to think about it in a different way sometimes than the bigger cities. Because although the percentages work out the same, the amount of money, it's kind of like what we're talking about the elections IGA. Like a 250% increase is a 250% increase, and that's no good. But if you look at what the spread is between if they charged $1 versus $2.50, you're just not talking about a huge amount of money. If you, especially when you compare it to going into litigation and that sort of thing. You know what I mean?
1,500 for the cost of the election?
So I encourage y'all to think about it in that way, and also that makes it tough sometimes when you're dealing with your fellow municipalities, because they may have much, much more at stake, and so they may be more dug in, and so we want to have solidarity and work with each other, but we also have to keep in mind the total stakes to the city of Houston. You know?
And James was gonna run some more numbers, and, you know, we were gonna talk about this, Thursday night of next week. You know, I've met our 2 new incoming representatives. I hadn't talked to either one of them in detail about this, but this is something for sure, as soon as whichever one gets elected, we need to start getting the bug in the ear, and we need to start educating our citizens. And, I think I've been told we're having a town hall meeting again in a couple of weeks.
28th.
I mean, for sure, we need to speak about this, and we really need to encourage, our citizens to reach out to these commissioners, because most people in the city of Houston think they're paying these taxes to us. There's a lot of them that think that. And, we need to educate them, this is where your tax money's going, and ask them what we're getting back to them. I mean, we've sat in this room before when Gina and Kevin have been here, and they had that great big list. This is all the services that we provide you. Well, it's a nice list, but there's a fee just about on every one of those services too, above our taxes. And we couldn't function without the county. It needs to be a team approach, but it's not where we want to be. And the SPLOST and LOST,
That's a joke what they're trying to present.
we were shooting to split the money 50-50. And they want to do it about 50, they want to start out at 57-43, and then in 2 years get it 55-45 in percentage. So 45% would go to the cities, and then it would be doled out population-wise down to us, split through all the cities. Well, I mean, it adds up. I mean, that 5%, I don't have that number in front of me, but it's, trust me, it's a bunch of money. And it's money that our citizens are paying in. I mean, especially sales tax. I mean, how many times do you go out in the county and you're riding around, are you spending much money in the county for sales tax? Most of the sales tax dollars are spent in the cities, and the cities are generating that
I did not know about that 1.5%
1.5 mils.
or mills. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Yeah, because I've had property inside the city limits and outside the city limits. And yeah, you can look on the tax bill. And it's a different rate. And it's to the county, I don't believe that the school millage, I think, is the same. It's just county M and O is more. So that about covers, I mean,
That was what was discussed yesterday during that meeting.
Yeah.
Just so everybody's aware, because it'll obviously come to the council before us.
We will have to make a decision on elections, IGA, and, I talked to Logan, what's her name? Jennifer Logan? They need that IGA in place so they can run our election, and their expectation will be to run the election for Shantwine's, vacant seat, not the next time, but the next, so a little bit later this year in the fall.
And we have to have it set up by June, correct?
Yeah,
You have to have it.
we have plenty of time, because all we really have to do is pass the IGA, so perhaps we can get that like on the, May calendar, and then we provide notice to them and have the election. I mean, it's not really, and she was perfectly content with that accommodation.
I'm assuming they'll come to the depot and set up.
Yeah, I think they do set up depot, or set up and take down, all that.
Yeah, because I mean, well, so if we hold that special election there for that, would that be the only thing that'll be there? Because there's multiple things
Well,
being.
No. That's why she wants to do it then, because it'll be with everything else that's on the ballot at that time, as opposed to a separate special election.
So it would
Goodness,
be
is
at
that
the
enough
gym?
room?
Would it be at the gym then?
I don't know about location.
No, that would not be good.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, would you want
That would be
a
good.
city election outside the city limits of Houston? And I'm trying to think if there's gonna be all that stuff on the ballot, because all the Senate races and governor's race, I mean, all this stuff's gonna be on the ballot. Well, that might generate enough turnout. I mean, it might be a little crowded for the depot.
They'll make that decision.
Yeah.
Of course, we should have the new big room in City Hall open by then too. Yeah, I guess that's Jennifer's decision, not ours. But I wouldn't be crazy about holding the city of Houston election.
Well, I mean, would you go to vote? If you're a city resident, you get an extra something pop up on the screen?
Yeah, that's how it is on every ballot, is based on
Based on-
where you live,
Yeah.
you vote on different things, yeah. Because there's plenty of places where people from different areas have different things, so yeah, it's, yeah. Oh,
I'll pour it.
all right, y'all got any other questions about county stuff?
So what would have been the total cost to go to court with the county? If all the counties split it?
It would be the cities against the county.
Yeah, all the
I don't know,
cities.
because it depends on what, because you don't have to go wholesale, I mean, you could work out certain things and fight over others, it is so, that's so fuzzy at this point, I couldn't even begin to.
And see, we're paying the county bill too.
Yeah, what would be our share versus
We're also
Commerce?
paying their attorney.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends, because it'd be up to the cities to work it out.
Right.
Like in Hall County, they decide to do it by population, but that, they may not be up for that here, you know, I don't know.
Well, Jennifer Scott, she's the Braselton city manager, and she's done it twice now, because, they fall under 4 different counties. And she said it's taken 2 years on one, and it's just so costly. And typically, cities do not win against the county.
And she's in with Barrow County right now. And
Yeah,
then-
Barrow is fighting it tooth and nail.
Yeah, Gwinnett County, 2 or 3 years, but they won
Before it
that
even
one,
made it
but.
to court.
They won in Gwinnett, she was also part of the Hall County one, but we ended up not going to court, we hired a lawyer in the case.
But James, come back to your question, I mean, for what money we would get out of it, I mean, I bet we could spend 50 to 100 grand in attorney's fees on it. I mean, because again, this might last 3 or 4 years. You know, Commerce and Jefferson might spend 150, 200 apiece.
Yeah.
I mean, is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow worth that much risk? And it's just like, it bogs everything down.
I encourage,
To
no
stay out.
litigation, yeah,
Yeah,
if at all possible, absolutely.
just from what I've heard, and Gary's the one that kept up with all this really close last year, but at every meeting, I heard basically the same story that we heard yesterday.
Yeah.
For a year. And the county has never budged on it.
Right.
They just encourage us to talk to our commissioners, but we all have, so they're not.
I don't think our commissioners get talked to enough by the residents, because the residents really are uneducated in this. They don't know. I didn't know this until a year ago, really how all this worked, and maybe a little longer than that, but Gary and I, he's the one that really taught me how all this worked, and, you know, these percentages. And then we met with Gina and Kevin and Ralph one day, and they're trying to explain their side, and
Justify.
we justify it, you know, and I left there with a better understanding, but still, they're taking services away that they used to do, but not kicking back any money. And all of a sudden, here, all these cities now are gonna have to start taking care of all these roads
And infrastructure, yep.
that we're not, you know, we're not getting any kind of funding, any kind of rebates for. And y'all know what these roads cost. I mean, look what we just spent over there on West Jefferson Street.
Still not done.
Now, you said something about that yesterday. What?
They gotta strike the white lines on it. They said it got too cold.
It got too cold. So it's gotta strike down it, isn't it?
Just
They're
doing
all
this.
strong, isn't it?
Is it just a single center line strike?
No, there's a double yellow line down
But
the
they
middle.
don't have a white on the left and
The
right.
white
So they
sides.
strike the whites on the
Yeah, they
outside.
don't.
On the outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought the yellow one too.
Yellows, they were what?
Are they long?
No, they're just solid double lines.
Yeah, I thought they were long. Somebody told me they were long.
Well, I'm guessing if that's not done, we probably haven't closed out their contract. Yeah. Well, this will tell you what it pays to put in to wrap that up, because Jerry wouldn't turn that loose until it's, yeah, I'm sure we owe them a lot more than it costs to have stripes done. You know, maybe we get past Easter this weekend, it won't be 30 degrees anymore.
Yeah.
Until October and November. Well, it snowed in Gainesville last weekend of the year.
A little bit, so- Well, if y'all don't have any more questions, what I'd like to do is, get some insight from a couple of y'all in small groups on some issues, and then y'all can decide whether y'all wanna come back together. And I thought I might go Lauren and Tracy first, if that's all right. And then James and Adam, I'll, holler at y'all when we're ready, maybe 30 minutes or an hour, something like that. Does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's do that.
Hey,
Do they have a place?
before we break up, I want, just something y'all start thinking about, because I want to talk about that this week. And when we get Jerry in here, did y'all see the logos on the water tank?
Yeah.
Terrible.
Steve, did you see it?
I did.
I-
I just seen the pole.
I don't
Is there
think-
something on front?
I don't think
Yeah.
any of us are happy with it.
They're so little.
So,
Yeah, they were.
The paws, the little baby paw, the H is gonna jump off the tower and get you. It's
No, it
big.
can be bigger too.
It needs to be bigger?
Yeah.
I thought that was huge.
I think it needs to be
I
bigger.
thought we was gonna let citizens have an input what goes on there.
No, we had talked about at one point, maybe.
Let people suggest what to go on the water tower.
Kids at school draw something, or, you know, but obviously.
We had the school suggest from the top what they
Yeah.
wanted to do.
Well, and I don't think, the paw doesn't face the school, it faces really, it faces more towards Brighton Park than it does the
Yeah.
school. And I don't, even with the Hoschton logo, it's kind of square with 53, I kind of wanted it to be pointed more towards I-85 to where you, because you can see that water tank from 85. I thought, what better way to grab traffic off of 85 than to see a big water tank that says Hoschton on it. So anyhow, let's think about that. We may can get them to change it while they're there. I mean, that happened really quick.
Yeah, that was painted fast.
But I think Jerry was under the impression it wasn't gonna be done yet. I don't know if they're there, how much it even costs to have it repainted there.
I thought
That-
Joe got it stopped.
That light blue logo, it doesn't even stand out.
Did Joe not get it stopped?
It's, I think we need to be much bolder.
We own that skyline now in Brownston, and driving through 53, and we missed the opportunity right there.
And
They shifted over.
we-
The shit, no, just the,
We need to seize that.
yeah.
I was coming back from Publix at 124 and 332 the other day. And right there at the top at Wee Hunt Road, where it's now a four-way stop, when you look there and that water tank is just as bold above the skyline as it can be right there. It was great.
And once you come off of 211, off on the interstate coming northbound, you got a clear view.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you think it's Brazelton's water tower.
Well, can you tell it's two-tone? Or does it look all white?
Do I-
Not that far away.
It's all white.
I mean, even when you're up at it, you can't tell the grades on there.
Yeah, I hadn't seen none of the right.
Yeah.
Where?
The bottom.
Inside?
It's two different colors, but it's a very,
It's so close.
very,
in
yeah,
color.
very close, yeah.
That's that discount paint we bought.
Oops, paint.
Help the citizens, yeah. Discount.
Well, as quick as they put those logos up and painted that, it can't cost a whole lot to.
Is that
to redo
stickered?
that.
I wonder if it's stickered or painted.
I'm guessing it was some kind of stencil
I thought it was
that,
stenciled.
that they started with. But, we just about sat there and watched him paint the H yesterday, he got that started, and I mean, it was just, and then, just a couple hours later, the Christian was ready.
Up there.
I bet it is stenciled.
So did
That's
anybody
not
else
good.
have anything else about the county? No? All right, I will make a motion to adjourn. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? All opposed?
Oh, we're second to that.
All right, I'll grab Tracy and Lauren
All right.
and Jennifer. Shannon, y'all come on.
driving out.
Oh, he might.
No, he worked. I think he was chuckling at me, toting the luggage.
Oh, no, he's my assistant. He takes my
And the guy said, "Oh, you walked from the woods?" I said, "Yeah, do you see the guy that was in front of me that wasn't carrying anything?" He said, "Yeah, yeah." I said, "Oh, that was my husband."
He didn't carry a luggage.
She told me to go on, she's lying.
I'll be back in a minute. Sent you the itinerary on your Facebook page. You did what? I sent the itinerary. Oh, okay.
I'll go back to your room.
Can you keep an eye on that?
I'm gonna pull her name off.
What is that?
Hey, you know what it is, though?
Brad, I didn't want to say that, but. No, I'm taking it, okay?
No, but we're splitting it because it's coming this way. You want a hand? I got it. I see that.
You're coming back.
Steve will help you.
I've carried
She's
my
good
own
at carrying.
luggage today.
In the medical world, we always look at video on disease in the other treatment. And so the treatment, they deal with the disease.
Oh, no.
And then what
Yeah.
are the ancillary issues
Good
that
gosh,
you look
I
at
am so
Steve
surprised.
over there right
outside of the disease.
guilty litter.
So when you look at it from a very selfish and one-way point of view, you get that point of view. So when you have a police force, and we have a jail, you will go to jail. We
James, go
don't
get
bring
us some
kids.
lunch. I don't mute.
Try to save your time.
Your lunch is on your own.
What happened with lunch this time?
Can't be spending what else done. Hey, we're fixing to cut back big time.
That's-
No more improvements, nothing.
Yeah, paper shirts.
Nothing. Paper shirts.
That's where.
Went on a hundred cars,
Yeah,
and
that's where it
tires,
came
road
from.
trip today,
Spend money.
15,000 cartridges in county roads.
Guns to work.
I wanna see the sand.
I must.
Yes.
Gotta open the records request for that.
By improving 3,000 homes in total, plus 11,000 townhomes in total.
Just like to go to self-talk.
Now, burden and stress and
Take aspirin.
That he does.
So they-
Someone give you a pinch.
they're saying
It's
that
like that.
at the same time,
Forget about
we've
everybody.
created more stress on the county.
So
It's a very short-sighted thing.
Yeah, it was just orange. What's the white one? I don't know, but I have a red one. It's nasty. I wonder if that was pina colada?
It defies logic.
Earl.
You live up here?
Hey, Kim.
How are you? You're in the middle. You might be in the middle.
You doing all right?
I am.
I saw you out there a while ago. You eat breakfast?
The lunch, we were up here with Helen.
Ah, okay.
Oh, James, we need to, take these back up. They're too expensive to just throw around the paper.
So what do you guys, what do you got on their agenda today?
Not lunch. So we don't have.
Thank you.
Fran, how are you?
I'm good.
How are you, darling?
Hey, I'm well. How are you?
I'm far more qualified.
Good. Well, let me
Kim,
go
have
back.
a seat. We got time for you to speak about an hour and a half,
And
An hour.
just a little bit.
spent the night about it.
I'm gonna run on to my meeting.
Oh, is it?
Go run on.
That's good.
Okay.
I like mine.
Run on.
Where did Tracy get his nuts?
His nuts. He was born with them.
What about the ones that he was eating? Not the ones you eat, but gosh dang, why didn't you pack me
Oh, he got them out of his bag.
Have them far.
They were in the little cups. Did you prepare those?
I did.
You put them in little cups?
I did. A week's worth. And vanilla, and peanut butter, and
My wife sucks.
mac and cheese,
Steve ain't done
chicken,
nothing.
and yogurt,
All she does is come here and ask about
In the little cups?
and bear hut for dinner. But yeah.
Wow.
I'm trying to back them up. Grab it, those.
Yeah.
$50.
The containers cost money.
I hate those.
Yeah.
They They say they're 2 ounces. They're just disposable, it's not a waste of money, but they say 2 ounces. Not barely being disposable, so it's gotta be liquid. But I don't know what I like better, throwing them away.
He didn't bid
You
out
seen they got those,
contractor services.
reusable Ziploc bags now?
They didn't do that.
Yeah, you just
So
can
he
wash
doesn't
them, put them in the
have the authority
dishwasher.
by getting the bid on the contract.
Back in the.
Contractor services.
Walking this folder. Yeah.
Nobody
Wow,
voted for me.
Yeah. That was.
I don't have a contract in 1099.
We got temple.
That's the basis they're
Um,
using for him being city manager.
Yeah, I do remember that
That
too.
makes no sense.
And it is my go-to if I run out.
Say, hey, I'm in police.
Usually I'm out of
because
temple as well.
I'm a 1099 employee and I'm not working with a contract, so.
magical
Yes, it's magic time.
I'm tempted to declare myself the city manager right here now.
I don't know why. There's a part of me that just wants to say, let me come out.
James, you having a spinach salad for lunch today?
And,
I'm sorry.
Are you having a spinach salad for lunch today?
Lunch is over.
It never started.
If you had a police chief that.
Y'all didn't stop getting
it.
it.
It's in him and say.
We were running like
Ask
that
him.
is for,
super close to like
open your mind.
getting here.
2/3 of our city council.
We stopped at the Hubble House in Helen.
I know y'all did. Well,
In my simple mind, should be arrested for players who might be one big power.
Is that your first name?
Another machine.
Well, it's mine, so
That's
you're,
that.
what are you
I mean,
made?
you're
Oh, it's
taking
too,
money
they
and
what?
getting paid that you shouldn't pay. How does that
Twenty,
sound?
a little bitty bit. 24, I don't know.
And my mother didn't know mine either when my dad was eliminated.
It's a wrong birthday.
She did, she put 29. She had it for 4 years, had to carry it around for 4 years, it's like, that was insulting.
You just said it wouldn't fit me because my finger was fat.
I'm sitting high behind the cash and don't see you.
That's stupid.
I don't know of another city council or county government or state government where more than half the people have been arrested or shot. I don't know that it exists. Well, that was pretty well, yeah. But currently.
Yes, do you want out, didn't you?
It's not on that one.
Is there ever retreat?
Mm.
Breaking the small groups of like
Garbage.
talking.
Don't leave that here.
What?
Don't you leave that here, take that with you.
Oh, this?
Right in the
No.
celery.
Have you ever done one of these?
You're not listening.
This is the best gas station.
Hey, squirrel, that, probably much better than that.
Oh, this?
That.
Anything.
Oh,
Thank you,
this?
Thank you,
I look
yeah,
at it.
that,
I look at your.
He's slow.
it's okay.
We seen signs when it's coming back.
I
You
work
gotta be
with,
quick.
I work with your daughter, thank you.
Oh,
That was the best hire you've ever had.
So you're creative.
You're welcome.
I was talking to Carla.
And you have to look at
And
it.
you could
Where
also
is
make
Carla?
that the best fire.
Make up the bet.
Fire too.
No, you better not.
Better be nicer.
Where's Carla?
Hey, no, because Carla ain't gonna stay down.
I really can't say it this time.
Is she out there proving her domicile?
I really can't say it this time.
Well, I seen her just walk by.
You do, so now you trust this customer or whatever?
Our room wasn't ready, so.
Oh, where are you?
Why is your room not ready?
So what time's check-in?
Like right
Now?
Well,
12, wasn't it?
He's put a contract, this city manager,
There's,
411?
or these some.
their palace isn't ready.
The purchase agreements, or at least.
Your palace isn't ready.
I'll start
Combined
putting on
with that half acre.
a text, what she hears us sing about.
Oh, God. She better plug them ears up, sister. Oh, it ain't Sunday though.
It don't matter.
She's good on our side of town.
It don't matter. You ain't got kids, what are you talking about?
He's diabetic. You know how old men are.
Me? I'm over here eating peanut butter cookies.
Can't be trusted.
Oh, my gosh. Wanna do it?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So if we need to
James,
see
y'all were
this
staying
issue,
up here?
it's gonna be like,
He's got powers.
It's unfortunate.
We paid extra, thank you. I did.
They're
Had all them
fluffing
kids.
the pillows.
$75.
Did RV recover from what, having his taste of meat?
What happened to him?
He bit the technician at the vet.
That dog, you gotta put him down.
Yep.
Gotta put him down, that's it.
That little bitty
Hey,
thing.
when you say, hey, this dog will bite you, what that mean? What does that mean?
He bit me too.
Exactly. Did you pick him up?
I did something he didn't like. I can't remember what it
Carla
was.
say that, hey, he's getting old, he's getting senile, you know, that's what happens.
I've never seen an old man bite people.
We took his driver's license away last week.
He's sad, ain't he?
Is he ready for a permanent nap?
He's got a couple more good years. I mean, my God, he eats the best.
Something that's supposed to try to help. all
Yeah.
You gonna get them stuffed?
Yeah, it's supposed to find out equal exchange.
The guy on,
Commerce.
Can you do
Kingsman,
that?
the Kingsman.
You can stuff it in. It's just like if you bought it, you shot it, killed a deer, you can do a dog.
Have you ever seen that?
No, but it'd be a little creepy. Come here. You could do stay, and just sit there.
Put that in.
Well, this retreat is very different than the last one.
I was in the planning and zoning commission.
Why is that, Adam?
We need to take these
So
little,
they were approving the Creekside subdivision.
Well, I think it's because it's a present company.
yeah, I know.
It is, isn't it?
Maybe Brighton.
One way around it.
And then we're gonna have to redo the wastewater treatment plant, because we didn't have no sewer capacity. They paid this guy Harmon Drive some amount of money. There's only one other sewer plant that was like that, it was in China, in the world. And so that cost like
Is there a sign out there that says if you walk by, you gotta look in here?
So then we had.
Every guy walks by,
They
they
spent another $3 million
Yeah.
to build what we have
That's a
today.
good idea.
The retrofit, what we have today. And,
What?
and I told them back then, I said, well, so we had this thing.
Erica,
like a
what's the
big
main-
aerator
What's the main number to the post office?
That was part of the hotline, because all the sludge. just got in the fire.
1-800
So
got
we now
mail.
go around Clarinator, which is more like normal.
Oh, you're going somewhere
So
else?
in
Laura?
theory,
Is that kind of like what Jackson County
yes, yes, so we've gone more to
You got it
what in
programmed in
America
here?
considers normal wastewater treatment plants. So that's been good. It's been needed for a long time.
What?
Well, here's what, we're 6 million.
I somehow deleted
Yeah, come
my
on, tank.
something.
Yeah, all of a sudden, we got like 500 residents.
can you
and
dial
other
it for me?
customers paying $6
I
million.
carry luggage, I'm just so.
She's worn out, you didn't feel the run?
Worn out.
Are you ever gonna wear your hair down? I think I've seen it one time down.
It's a ton of rain. And so we had Ernie Beaver come in and me and 4 other people. We were 90 days later, and we-
Somebody's
we
been
were
stealing
some
my
small
mail.
people. We were 90 days later, $87,000.
It's at 130 White Street, yes.
And stacked that high, criminal records. And the police department.
What did I say the first thing I read?
Payroll.
Okay, I'll look for somebody. Hey, look, there's a pickup at 170 Mua Drive.
So we had to fire the police department. or
Well, I
shut
guess they
down
didn't
the
pick it
police
up.
department.
Because she just texted me and said,
So you were there for that.
okay. It's the very last house. Yes, it's the very last house, 170 Mua.
And today, we had more city council.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, bye.
Remember that.
And so,
Yeah.
it was bad, I mean, it got so bad.
You got on there and said somebody,
Yeah, I go to city council meeting, oh, yeah, they're pissed, serve the warrants right there.
let's not be on the,
Police reports like, it's not the kind of pumpkin. And the lady that was that,
No, not that kind.
so the lady that works there is very
Ew.
nice. You may know her, I don't know her, but, she didn't even know what copier.
So anyway,
Why don't you check
We
into
went
your,
through some really bad times, and we had a fire. And like,
I could just check into it and take a nap.
and then, because we still weren't generating enough money, GFA renegotiated our
What time are y'all
loan
done today?
and gave us 3 years to make no payments. So we had to make new payments for 3 years, which allowed us to kind of get a little money back, of course.
4 o'clock.
Mhm.
Check into 4.
And then, and so now, and then it was one of these, like, pay interest only for 6 or 7 or 8 years, whatever it is. So right now, we're making $400,000 a year payments. And it was 48 months at the beginning of the year, so that's what, 45 months? $2 million a year.
Why are you drinking all that water? Just pee yourself.
Is there not bathrooms here?
No, it's out.
On top of all
We're in the
this,
woods.
we had to get. and
Well,
spend
seeing
money.
I have one
It's-
bathroom at the house, I'm used to.
It's a bath,
If
there's
I
bears
lived in
in
a
there.
perfect
No,
world,
Is there?
I'd be always.
Looks like there's a couple in here.
Because
Go get me a
why
margarita.
are we duplicating city administrative supervisor?
It's after 12, it's
Why
past
are we
12.
duplicating the police chief? when you sit-
5 o'clock
and
Sunday.
There's a line back then in between. It makes no sense.
On the city's money, you're having too much fun on the city's money.
That's right.
I went fishing yesterday and I was happy. Because it just, and you get tired of fighting.
So that was
corruption
rough
in the city
afternoon
all the
yesterday?
time. And like
That's
my
a rough
grandpa-
night. Or do you remember?
I don't remember. Did you see me somewhere?
No. I heard you got in trouble.
So you're
I
paying
did
for
get in trouble.
it.
What's new?
You stay in trouble.
I got 2 more years left in the 30s. Then I'll grow up. I'm 38.
No, I'm 68.
I'm gonna grow up. I'll wait till then to do it.
Ain't no point in
And
it.
no desire to learn anything different or look at it differently. That's the part that bothers me. I think we're all creatures of our own habits, right? And so for 35 years, I've been in the medical sales business, so I look at things differently than other people. At least ask questions. So if you can't ask questions about, tell me why this is good, what could be the bad side, how are we not looking at it, how can we look at it different? You're not doing that. You really coming up with an answer? No.
You get that there.
Mm-hmm.
Falcon. To the ballets.
Well, that's recent.
Nobody but her.
I now think I understand what mob attorneys do. There's a difference between giving advice on what's right and giving advice on how to do things that get around doing what's right. We're still giving advice. It's just two ways to do it. Yeah.
Well, he knows there's gonna be a bar complaint against him as soon as I can get around to it. I've been busy. But he's well aware of that.
Mhm. Well, so to that point, yeah. So back in 2010, when we came in office, was so bad, we tried to find replacements for Thomas Mitchell. What you're saying is true. It's like there's only a core group of attorneys that are civic or civil or whatever you call them.
He recruited him, and he said, if you're brave enough, please come work for us. One of those city charter had, they would argue over it, and he would even defy them to putting it out, because it was so amended. I mean, there was shit written in the margins and annotated and everything like that. He said, you don't know what it said.
That attorney is Jody Campbell.
Yeah,
And
Jody Campbell.
he basically helped get the mayor of Hoschton arrested for the theft that was committed when he had the city pave his driveway.
Yeah, now, I know, yes, now I know who you're talking about. It was like, it was supposed to be like a road, but it was a driveway or something.
Well, we'll at least have a discussion.
I'm wrong sometimes.
Right.
You know, and people talk about, I've lived here now 32 years. Most everybody that was here when I moved into Houston is dead except for a couple. I'm an old timer. I can be, I'm an old timer. And all I want is transparency and accountability. Just follow the rules.
Hey, is that what you voted for a few months ago? Second.
Yes. It's not, shouldn't be complicated. I have to do it every day in my job. When the FDA comes to inspect us, we have to get out the book. It's okay, here's how we do this, here's how we do this, here's how we do that. And I just don't think it should be that difficult.
And it shouldn't be painful in a government environment, because it's not your money.
Right. No.
Well, yeah, well. Yeah. Are you hungry? Okay, I didn't know if you had eaten or not, I was gonna say this. Did you put up the agenda? I hadn't seen it. But see, this is a violation of the Open Meetings Act right now.
Yes.
Because there's not an agenda for a meeting that will begin at what, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 2:34? I mean, when will that be? I didn't see the agenda. Well, there won't be meetings in minutes either, so you might want to like supply those to Jennifer, so.
What does the agenda say? It says that the meeting is supposed to begin at noon, and it's supposed to go on for 4 hours. Okay, got it.